I look back, don't wanna change a thing. Love ain't cheap, look what it's done to me.
Hey friends, so as I'm sure we all know by now, your girl is expecting a child. But that doesn't mean that my urge for a good old cocktail or a drink has subsided whatsoever. You would think it would get easier, but it has not. Honestly, my weekly cocktail has been my biggest challenge, and so I've come up with some drinks that have sort of been my way of getting through. So I wanted to share with you the recipes that I've been doing for the past 8, almost 9 months. I know a lot of you guys are either expecting as well or just trying to cut out on alcohol, so I get these questions all the time as to what my favorite mocktails or non-alcoholic drinks in general are. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through some of my absolute favorites. So I'll start with a super easy one, which is, because sometimes your girl just feels like having a glass of wine. Obviously that's not possible, but I've gone through many bottles of non-alcoholic wine trying to find one that is my favorite and one that actually tastes like wine and doesn't taste like juice. I recently dropped over $30 US ordering a non-alcoholic bottle of rosé from Amazon, and it was awful. It tasted like absolute juice. Such a waste of time and money, but I did find a really good one that is my go-to favorite. The brand is, and I'm totally gonna butcher it, it's Rotkäppchen, and it's actually a legit winery out of Germany, and then they create this non-alcoholic version. So this you can find at Superstore, which is amazing. We have one right up the street from us. It costs less than $9, it's like 8 something, and I opened this bottle last night actually because your girl had a rough day and needed a pretend glass of wine. If I can get this open. So obviously I have it in a champagne flute to make it feel even more legit. And to me, this is the only wine that I've been able to get that actually tastes like wine and not like juice. So I would definitely highly recommend this one. Moving on to beer. So beer as well is one of my favorites, especially during the summer, and I've had a good opportunity to try a lot of the non-alcoholic options that are out there, and above all, my favorite is the Budweiser Prohibition. So this one is actually 0%, 0.0% non-alcoholic beer, and you can get it at a lot of restaurants now. So usually when I go to a restaurant to have a beer, I will have it with Bellini Slush. That is my absolute favorite drink, especially when we go to Cactus Club, which we go there a lot. It's my #1 favorite. So if you are familiar with what Bellini Slush is, it's essentially peach slush with booze, and it is sweet and delicious and slushy and amazing, and it makes your beer taste so much better. So since obviously I can't have the Bellini Slush because at restaurants it's all kind of pre-made in the machine with the alcohol, so there's no way of getting a non-alcoholic version of it, I decided to attempt to make my own at home.
I've done it before it starts to fade, 'cause love ain't cheap and there's a price you pay. With all of these nights, gonna be fine. All of these mistakes, take all the bad, all the blessings, broken hearts. I won't forget
and
that.
you can get this at Superstore, or I think basically like any grocery store. And you have to make sure that it is nice and cold. And I'll just pour it into a glass. And then I'm gonna top it with, I made my own peach puree, aka virgin Bellini Slush, and this is basically just frozen organic peaches mixed with some sugar and some water. Blend it up so it's nice and cold and slushy, and I'm just gonna add some to the top of the beer. And it looks exactly like how it does when I get it at the restaurant. Literally so good. Tastes exactly the same. So this is another one of my absolute favorites, especially in the summer. 0 alcohol. Got some fruit in there, some nutrition, right? So, and then moving right along to more of cocktails. Obviously, we all know that Aperol Spritz is like the cocktail of the season, especially during summer. I did some digging and I found 2 options that are amazing for making a virgin Aperol Spritz, but also you could use them to make a virgin Negroni. So the first one is Crodino, and there are these Italian sodas and they come in these cute little bottles. So there's Crodino, and then this one is called San Bitter. And so the color of Crodino to me is more of an Aperol Spritz, and then the color of San Bitter is more of a Negroni. The last time I made a virgin Aperol Spritz, I just mixed them together. These sodas are obviously sweet and delicious, but they're also bitter. So what I found with making any sort of mocktail throughout this process is if I can make the drink a little bit bitter or I can make it a little bit spicy, it tastes most like an actual cocktail versus just drinking juice. I hate mocktails that are just a waste of calories in my opinion and just taste like you're having a glass of apple juice. I'm just gonna fill the glass with ice. Obviously we want lots of ice for this drink, and then I'm just gonna mix 1 bottle of the Crodino, and I forgot to mention that I got both of these on Amazon, and if you guys follow me on Instagram or watch my stories, you would have seen that the day that I went to go and pick them up, I picked them up off the counter and proceeded to drop all of them on the floor, and they smashed everywhere, and I cried, and it was awful. But a couple bottles did survive, so those are the bottles that I scrounged up and brought home with me because I had to have them shipped to the States. Anyways, they made it home, so Amazon. So I'm just gonna mix 1 of the bottles of Crodino. And then I'm also gonna add 1 of the bottles of the San Bitter. I do find that mixing them makes the most sort of realistic Aperol color. I kind of left a little bit of the San Bitter, and then as you drink you can add to it if you like. And then obviously Aperol Spritz also has a little bit of champagne in it, so I'm just gonna add some of that non-alcoholic wine, sparkling wine. And then I'm also just gonna add a little bit of soda. I didn't really leave much room in this glass for the soda, but that's fine. Just a little bit to cut the sweetness. Give it a little bit of a stir. And then to garnish for the Aperol Spritz, obviously we want a nice slice of orange. I made this the other night, and I made Danny a real Aperol Spritz, and then I made myself the fake one, and he tried both and was like, it tastes basically exactly the same. So good. And then the last cocktail that I've been doing is, like I mentioned, if you mix, if you're able to get a mocktail that has a bit of spice to it, to me that tastes most like an actual cocktail. So I created a watermelon jalapeno mocktail. And again, I made these the other night for me and Danny, and for his I just added some mezcal, and it was so good with the mezcal too. So to start, you're just gonna wanna rim your glass with some tahini. So I'm just dipping it in lime juice and then into the tahini. And then once again, you're gonna fill your glass with ice, and I'm just gonna set that aside for a second while I make the actual cocktail. So in your shaker, you're just gonna take probably about 3 slices of jalapeno. And add them in, and you're just gonna take the back of a spoon and sort of muddle them to make sure that you're getting all the spice out of them. Sometimes the jalapenos, they can be hit or miss. They can either be spicy or not. So obviously you wanna get like a good amount of the seeds in there because that's what has the spice. And try and muddle them as much as you can. So once the jalapenos are all muddled, I add about a half an ounce of lime juice. And then I'm also gonna add, so this is a watermelon juice that I love and I use for all of my mocktails. So it's the Blue Monkey 100% watermelon juice. And you can get it at Nature's Fair or really any other health food store. And I'm gonna add probably about 2 ounces to the shaker, maybe a little bit more. And then you're basically gonna fill with ice. Because the watermelon juice is super sweet on its own, you don't need to add any additional sugar, which is amazing. And then you're just gonna pour that into your tahini-rimmed glass and top with soda. And that's basically it. And then you can garnish with a little watermelon. And then a jalapeno slice. And voila. Again, this is so good on its own without any alcohol, or Danny's version with the mezcal is also amazing if you are not pregnant. You can have that. Those are my mocktails and drinks that I've basically been gravitating towards throughout this entire pregnancy. I wanted things that actually tasted like alcohol and didn't taste like I was drinking soda water or juice. I hope you guys liked the video and liked the recipes. And thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time.